Montana.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Tracking the Wolves, episode number 11, if I'm not mistaken. I am your host, as always, Sam Maston. We appreciate you guys tuning in, as always. We are honored and excited to be joined today by a very special guest. We have Northern State, I'm going to try to get this right here, Northern State Associate Athletic Director for External Operations.
Nailed it.
My good friend and coworker, Clayton Randall, Senior. Clayton, how are you doing today, man? Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Great to chat Northern Athletics with you and the rest of Wolves country out there.
Yeah, no, we're pumped to have you. And for those of you that have been following along, obviously we made our way through the vast majority of the sports here on campus. And so we have shifted today's episode into more of the administration side, learning about our man Clayton and kind of what he does. Clayton, I guess for the people at home that aren't familiar with your story, this is your first year, like mine, in the department. You transferred over from a world of high school coaching. I guess a good place to kind of start off is just talk about your first year on the job and what you've kind of learned, what you kind of do, the responsibilities you kind of handle on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. We'll start with how I got here. 25 years ago, I was a student at Northern, late 90s, early 2000s. So
he's a wolf. Lifelong.
I'm a wolf. Got that maroon and gold in the blood.
Yeah.
Left Northern with a degree in business finance and business education and entered the workforce as a teacher and a coach. Made a few stops in rural South Dakota. Doland, Eureka, and Harriet are the three towns that I've taught and coached in. And last spring, my wife and I, who's also a Northern grad, Holly Schumacher, now Holly Randall, education grad and a cross-country and track and field alum, we decided to see what opportunities were out there. And one of the opportunities at that time was a position at Northern. And so put our name in the hat, and we're fortunate enough to get an opportunity to move back to Aberdeen. And I've been working in the athletic department since May 6th. And as you mentioned, my job title is Associate Athletic Director for External Ops.
Okay.
And as you well know, that we each have a job title, but the list of duties underneath that can get pretty extensive. In a nutshell, we're all on the let's make Northern State University Athletic Department the best that it can be.
Yep.
The sole focus there is providing the best student experience that we can for our student athletes, and then providing the best fan experience that we can for our Northern State University patrons. And what we get to do within those two realms is a lot of variety.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting. It's fun to work with the student athletes. It's fun to work with the supporters. And I guess throughout the show today, we can dive into a little bit about what some of those things are that we do.
Yep. Oh, 100%. And I think that's good. And it's obviously, as your coworker, I've seen you develop, and you've done a very good job with what you've been doing this year. And I think you've made the game day experience good for a lot of people. I'm curious to know, like for you being a coach and being a teacher for a long time, and then you get into kind of a different line of work. There's still some similarities, but what's kind of been the biggest thing you've enjoyed over the past year? What's been the biggest thing going through now a full football season, a full basketball season, as we get ready to fully transition here into the spring season with home events coming up? What's kind of been the biggest thing you've enjoyed over these last 10 months or so?
Great question. I think probably similar to you, the same thing that draws me back is just what sports does.
Yeah.
It's fun to see the work that our student athletes and our coaches put into preparing for an event. You can see a little bit of that behind the scenes. You can pop in at practice. You can talk to the kids during the week. I like to dig in and ask some questions so that I feel like I kind of know what we're trying to do on a Saturday afternoon in a football game, or when the men's and women's basketball teams take the courts at Walks Arena.
Yeah.
Or track and baseball, just any sport where I can talk to a kid and kind of find out what's the goal this week.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's fun to go to the game and see the coaches and the players try to execute that goal. And then you bring in the other side of things in, you bring the fans in, and you try to create a great atmosphere, which we've got a great atmosphere at Northern for sports. Our region, Aberdeen community and the Aberdeen region, they really support the student athletes. And so you really notice it when you go on the road.
Yeah.
I won't name any names, but we've both been to some venues across the league.
Yeah.
And we can say firsthand that nobody can replicate the experience that we do at Northern.
Yep.
And so working on this side of athletics, it's just fun to be a part of it. I think, in my opinion, there's nothing greater than being part of a team.
Yep.
And we have a team over there in the athletic department. with our athletic director, Nate Davis, and yourself and me and Amanda Fair and Celia Tosh and Ashley Gower and Terry Holmes. And we're all working together to do the best that we can. And then you see the individual teams using the same approach.
Yep.
And then ultimately it's just one big Wolves family out there trying to be the best that we can. So being part of a team is always something that's been attractive to me.
Yep, 100%. No, and I would agree tenfold. I think for those viewers at home that aren't familiar, I started around the same time that Clayton did, about a week later exactly. So we've been on kind of this trajectory together of trying to figure out basically what we're doing and what's going on. And there was definitely some learning curves along the way, but I think, coming through a football and a basketball season now, it's very interesting to kind of sit down and reflect. So I think those are good. Kind of shifting gears a little bit here. Obviously, we are now in a little bit of I don't want to say a slow period, but we don't have any events on campus this week in terms of athletics. Our baseball team is down in Arizona right now on a 12-day trip to Tucson. Touched on that with Dean Barry a couple episodes back. And then our softball team is down in Missouri playing. So it's a little bit of a downtime. But as we transition here into April, there's a lot of events happening that aren't necessarily games, but they're very important kind of events. A big one that you kind of handle, I know it's not in April, well, that'll be more so in May, but a big one that you oversee is Wolves on the Water. And for our viewers at home, this is our big fishing tournament fundraiser that takes place at New Everett's Resort. Clayton is the point of contact for that. So Clayton, kind of give us an overview of that for the people at home that might not be familiar of what that looks like, what that entails, and kind of what that whole event benefits.
First of all, it's wow. Wolves on the Water.
Wow.
It's wow. And it is commonly referred to as the greatest fishing tournament in the world.
Other people's words, not ours.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is the number one walleye fishing tournament that you can attend.
It's the Mecca.
It is. And you can also support Wolves Athletics by doing so. So it's basically a no-brainer. We limit it to 140 teams, and I'm sure we'll have 20 or 30 teams that won't be able to participate just due to the overall demand of the event. But in our role in athletics, we both work in fundraising. You're going to nail the golf tournament later on. We have Bourbons and Brews, which is an athletic fundraiser, and we have Wolves on the Water. So we have 3 really big events this summer. It's really something for everybody.
Yeah.
If you're a golfer, you got to get in the Wolves, the NSU Golf Classic.
Yes, NSU Golf Classic.
Okay.
Correct.
If fishing's your thing, you absolutely have to be part of Wolves on the Water. And if you want a unique event that isn't really centered around a sport, but it's Wolves athletics, a little bit of bourbon, a little bit of brew, there's some food options and an opportunity to get inside all of the venues on campus. Bourbons and Brews is a fun event for Northern supporters. Late April 25th, I believe.
Yes, correct.
So a lot of opportunities to be part of a really cool event and support Northern athletics at the same time. Specifically, I'll talk a little bit about WOW, New Everett's, South Dakota. Head straight west on Highway 12. Don't turn, just go straight west, and you'll end up at New Everett's.
Yes.
It's on the beautiful Missouri River. Mm-hmm. Okay, specifically Lake Oahe, one of the best walleye fishing spots in North America.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. Okay, the tournament this year will be held May 30th and 31st. Friday, May 30th will be the pre-fishing, the social held under the tent, steak dinner. A little shout out to Demcoda Beef and Ken Superfair Foods. They're going to grill you up a real nice ribeye.
And I can confirm that we're not talking about your little $8 rib. Like, this thing is elite.
It's a plate.
Top of the line, Demcoda beef. It's big time. I've had it. I can confirm it's legit.
There's a good chance that beef was raised and produced by a local South Dakota egg producer.
Yeah.
And processed right here in Aberdeen, South Dakota. And then you can purchase that at Ken Superfair Foods in Aberdeen. So if you want a little idea of what you're getting, head down to Ken's and pick one up, and then join us at Wolves on the Water May 30th and 31st.
Yeah.
And we'll serve you one as part of your registration. At that event on Friday, it's a fun event. There's a big tent that's put up at New Everett's. We should have somewhere between 400 and 500 people there.
Yeah.
They're going to give away approximately $50,000 in raffle prizes and cash and Calcuttas, and then all geared up towards finding out who the best fishermen are on Lake Oahe on Saturday, May 31st.
Yeah.
We'll put 140 boats in the water starting at 8 a.m.
Okay.
They'll go in 30-minute increments.
Okay.
You'll have 7 hours on the water to perform your magic.
Yep.
And we'll pay out the top 20 teams in terms of weight.
Yep.
We'll give away an award for biggest fish, and then we'll give an award away for biggest walleye. Last year, a great supporter of ours, Aberdeen Chrysler Center, Chad Like and his team, one of the first teams on the water, and it didn't take them more than 30 minutes to bag the biggest walleye of the tournament. So 2 things on that. One, you want to get registered early. Okay, registration will determine which flight you're in. Okay, the first teams to register will go in the first flights.
Yep.
First flights have first chance on the water.
Okay.
And again, we're going to limit that to the first 140 teams. We are fully anticipating a full slate of teams. So you'll see the registration links available on all of our social media outlets. If you've fished the tournament in the past 4 years, you're going to get a registration form mailed to you.
I thought that puppy was just going to rip as soon as you did
we're
that.
going to utilize email. We're going to utilize social media. We're going to give you every opportunity to get in the tournament.
Yeah.
Okay, so find your best 2 or 3 man team. Get registered for Wolves on the Water.
When does registration officially open? You might have touched on it, but
Officially, registration will open first of next week.
first of next week.
Yep.
All right, so it's happening. So folks at home, when you're seeing this, it's almost time for a little wow. I can confirm. It's a glorious event. There's a lot of things happening. Friday night's a really good time. There's, like Clayton touched on, there's all kinds of things going on. There's all kinds of prizes being given out. Really good food, courtesy Demcoda Beef, Ken's. Not an ad. Kind of wish it was. Kevin, if you're watching, shout out. Really good stuff going on. And I think it's a great event, and it's a fun event. There's a lot of good things that come out of it. And then the fishing tournament itself, for a guy that, contrary to popular belief, I'm not too experienced in the fishing game. I have never been in a fishing tournament. My fishing experience is very minimal. Explain I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but explain again kind of how the winners are broken down or how they kind of go about doing that. Because if I remember correctly, it was broken down into like your top 3 fish or something. Some of these guys are just reeling in massive, massive fish. But just kind of explain what goes into the process of determining who wins, that sort of a thing.
Yeah, great questions. All of the rules and regulations will be attached to the registration form. So if you see this, okay, either below it on social media or behind it if you have the hard copy. It's a full list of rules and regulations, but we're going to pay out 20 teams, courtesy of our title sponsor, Hell Marine, which is located right here in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Okay, they're partnering with Northern to offer a $5,000 top prize award.
Mm-hmm.
So hard to find many tournaments that are going to pay out $5,000 to the top team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we pay out 20 full teams, and then we're also going to pay out the Calcutta based on the number of Calcutta teams that are purchased. How we score the tournament, either 2 or 3-man teams, regardless of which you are, you will weigh your top 8 fish. Okay, total pounds wins.
Yep.
We're also going to pay the biggest walleye caught that day, and we're going to pay the biggest fish caught that day. If you fish Lake Oahe, there's some monster northern out there.
Yep.
Not everybody likes those in their boat.
Yep.
But you're going to have to catch at least 3 pounds worth of a fish to get the big fish.
Yeah.
Last year we had one of our, I believe it was a top 5 all-time total weight when Chad Like and the boys from Aberdeen Chrysler Center bagged close to 30 pounds of fish.
Yes. Yes.
All indications from some of the local experts out there at New Everts. Justin Kappas, guy that fishes that thing religiously. Okay, all word from him is that based on current conditions, the water should be open soon, which is going to give anglers ample amount of time to get out and pre-fish. So you're going to have to bring your best if you expect on placing, let alone winning at 2025 Wolves on the Water.
I mean, we're talking the mecca of walleye fishing tournaments. This isn't just a show. That's what this is. Wow, we're talking wow.
Wow.
Well, good. Well, thank you for that information, Clayton, and we hope to see all of Wolves Country out there at WOW here in a couple weeks. Should be a really, really fun event. But kind of shifting gears again, obviously you touched on it at the top that you are a Northern State grad. Remind me of the graduation year again.
So I'm a first time through December 2009. 2003.
2003. For the people at home, that was 22 years ago. Now, I imagine, I wasn't here in 2003. I imagine that
Where were you born?
I was born.
He was born.
I was 4 years old when
So
that
you're
was going
4.
on. Yep.
And I'm graduating college.
Legendary. But I imagine some things have probably changed on this campus since 2003. Talk about, kind of being back here, some of the biggest things you've kind of that whole experience has been like. Have you seen how Northern's evolved as a campus? And you've kind of gotten a firsthand look at the trajectory of just athletics, but also just the university and campus in general and what that's kind of been like for you.
Yeah, great question. I think the easier way to approach this is what's the same at Northern State University today as it was in 2002?
What hasn't changed?
I think we'll start with the location. The location is the same.
Yeah, it's still in the same. Campus is still here.
I think maybe 1 or 2 buildings are the same, even recognizable.
Yeah.
And everything else has taken all kinds of new shapes and forms and improvements. So, I mean, we are definitely highly involved in the athletics, but let's talk overall campus for a minute. All new dorms, and these dorms at Northern now they're more like apartments than they are dorms.
Yeah, they're ridiculous, probably, to say the least.
Yep. So the living accommodations on campus at Northern are second to none.
Yep.
You can get accommodations for anything that you could possibly dream of, from a 1-bedroom, pet-friendly, with your own bathroom, to a, hey, I'm more of a social person. I want to live with 2 or 3 or 4 other people, but hey, we can do it in a suite at Northern.
Yep.
We've got our own bedrooms, we've got a common area, and we still got our own bathrooms. So starting with the living accommodations, literally second to none. I was fortunate enough to live in Jurdy Hall, and if you've heard about it,
shout out.
Or if you were here during that time, I mean, that's just something that you really can't replace.
Yeah.
Jurdy was, you had to experience it.
Yeah.
The stories don't do it justice.
Yeah.
But it was probably time for that. I mean, that served its purpose. Provided a lot of experiences for Northern State students that really can't be replicated.
Yep.
Set the bar very high for dorm accommodations at Northern.
Yep, 100%.
Then moving into the classrooms, most of the classrooms have all been redone. Some of the buildings are the same. The building we're in, MJ, which is now the Tech Center.
Yep.
Okay, complete facelift. Johnson Fine Arts Center, complete facelift. We got the new Science Center on the northeast corner of campus. I mean, you can't miss it. What a staple. You're driving into town, boom.
Yeah.
Harvey Jewett Science Center, Northern State University.
Yeah.
Okay. It's as good as there is in South Dakota and in the entire region.
Yep.
Okay, new to the west side of campus is going to be our business and our nursing building. And so add that to what's on the south side of campus with the football stadium and the softball stadium.
Yep.
I think you really can't drive through Northern without being wowed by the facilities. Specifically, let's talk athletic facilities, since you and I are both in athletics.
Yeah. Let's talk facilities.
Fun little fact, when I was at Northern got a soccer team for the very first time.
Oh.
I cannot be quoted on the year, but Coach Steve Kemp and a group of girls decided that Northern was going to do soccer. They moved from a club team
into a real program.
Program was located just east of, at that time, Jurdy Hall.
Okay.
And that space is now occupied by the football and soccer facilities. So, I mean, a shout out to those girls, late 90s, early 2000s. Without them taking that first step to move the program forward, we don't have the facility that we currently have, and we don't have the team that we currently have. So, I mean, soccer has come from club sport to great facility, competitive team in the NSIC and in the region. In the late 90s, early 2000s, football was played north of town at the original Swisher Field.
Yeah.
Then it moved to Central's campus at Swisher Field, and now it's currently played on campus. So seeing football evolve in 3 different phases and now being played on campus, it's been fun to see.
Yeah.
Football was practiced at that time in the parking lot, in the grass area just north of the Barnett Center parking lot. Had a practice football field that extended north into the current Science Center. So we had practice on campus, but no games. That's evolved tremendously. And then moving into the Barnett Center, The structure is recognizable, but everything inside has been changed and advanced.
Modernized or
Yep.
updated in some way. Yeah. No, that's
The basketball locker room's been a great addition.
100%.
The training facility upstairs on the second level,
Yep.
great addition. The wrestling room, great addition.
Yep. Yeah, and I think you touched on a lot of interesting things, and I think my biggest takeaway from all of that is there's been a lot of change and innovation on campus and within the athletic department over the last 10 years. There's been a lot of upgrades and a lot of kind of advancements, and now I think kind of you're starting to see it with the performance of our teams. There's beginning to become now we're starting to really take advantage of this and reap the benefits, and a lot of programs are doing a lot of good things and going in really good directions. I think one thing that's been really interesting working with you that I've enjoyed is you obviously come from, in a past life, you were coaching high school football, and you were very well connected, not only just in football, but just within high school administrations and that sort of a thing. And so you've done a really good job of community involvement. It's been cool to see, local high schools within a 100-mile radius of the place come and do football, basketball games, bringing their own teams. Talk about how that has kind of helped you in this job currently, like the relationships you have with those schools and what that's kind of done to kind of help increase community involvement and attendance and that whole process.
I just think back to when I was a student athlete, high school.
Yeah.
How big a deal Northern athletics were. I grew up in Warner, 10 miles south, and it was a big deal for us to head up to Aberdeen to watch a basketball game or watch a football game. When I transitioned into teaching and coaching, it was still a big deal to be associated with Northern. And so I thought it was important to try to, coming to Northern, do what we can to bring all those groups together. So I think we both made an effort to try to connect ourselves with the region. It's not just Aberdeen. Northern is a regional facility. And I think local coaches and local administrators and students and athletes, they like to come to Northern to experience the game day atmosphere. So we've had, I would say, upwards of 20 different schools bring their student athletes to a game, whether it be soccer, men's or women's basketball, or football. We had volleyball. And so again, we're going to try to tie in baseball and softball this spring, but we want as many regional high school student athletes to come to Northern to see what it's about.
No, and I agree 100%. And I think that's been cool, and I think it's generated some more excitement within the community because obviously, and with college athletics and how the landscape is now, and specifically football and basketball, there's kids that come from all over the place, and so I think it's important on both sides to continue to tie in those relationships. So I think that's been really, really cool. Well, Clayton, we don't want to keep you too long. I know you're busy and you got a lot going on, but we appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us today. I think it's important for the viewers at home to know that we have a guy in our department that, local guy from around the area, loves the Wolves, is doing a lot to kind of make sure behind the scenes that everything runs and that when people do come out to attend a game, they enjoy their experience. I think that's very, very valuable. And so for those at home, we're excited about the future. As we continue to code through this spring season and then transition into the fall, we have very high expectations going into the football season. We're excited to see what Coach Schmidt and his staff can do on that front. We've got in the process right now of getting a new men's basketball coach. We're working, women's basketball is coming off a very successful season. So there's a lot of exciting things kind of happening, and we look forward to continue to move towards those advancements and continue to reap those benefits. This is a guy behind the scenes that makes that happen. So for everyone at home, we appreciate you taking the time to tune in. This has been another edition of Tracking the Wolves. As always, I'm your host, Sam Maston, joined today by Clayton Randall Sr. Thank you. Everyone at home, go Wolves.
Good job, Sam.
Let's go. Let's go.
My bad.